Hey guys, I have something very, very, very cool to show you. It's actually a fragment of a manuscript of the Greek New Testament. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. This is a website called the Center of the Study for the New Testament Manuscripts. And Daniel Wallace at Dallas Theological Seminary started this website. And what they do is they take pictures of Greek manuscripts. There's about 6,000 Greek manuscripts. And they tell us an awful lot about the world and the world of the Bible and the New Testament and so on and so forth. But look here. This is a copy of John's Gospel. It's actually chapter 18 and chapter 19. And if you look very closely here as we zoom in, you'll see these little fragments here. You see these little lines. That's because this papyrus paper, which we've been talking a lot about here on this channel, here's the backside of it, by the way. This papyrus is actually a plant, and what they would do is they would weave it together and they would make paper. And it's very important to understand this piece of paper because this is one sheet of paper. And when we look at this one sheet of paper, we see the front side, and then we click here, and this is the back side. Okay, and so this is chapter 18 and chapter 19. Believe it or not, this is super, super, super important to understand the New Testament and to also understand the book of Revelation. And after the intro, I'm going to tell you a lot more about the book of Revelation. Well, hello and welcome back. It's nice to see you. And if you're new here, it's nice to see you also. This is a Bible study channel. What we do here is study the Bible because we take the Bible seriously, and we seriously study the Bible. We talk about theology and history and culture and geography and everything pretty much related to the Bible. What we're doing this summer is we are talking about eschatology, and eschatology is a study of end times and a study of last things. We're talking about eschatology, the end times, from June to August of 2020, the entire summer. It's about 90 days. Okay, so right now we're July 11th, so we're about 30, 40 days into this thing, so we got about halfway through almost. So it's really cool. We've been talking a lot about the book of Revelation. We've been talking a lot about scrolls in the ancient world, and the reason why is because we're going to be talking about the 7 seals in the book of Revelation. But in order for us to understand the 7 seals in the book of Revelation, we actually have to understand the scroll in Revelation. Let me show you what I'm talking about. When we come to the book of Revelation and chapter 5, it says, "And I saw in the right hand of the one who was seated on the throne a scroll written inside and on the back, sealed up with 7 seals." Now listen, for you guys who have been following these videos over the past couple of days, you know that we've talked a lot about this. And this video may seem a little bit redundant to some of you, but it's actually not. And the reason why this is not a redundant piece of information is because this scroll here mentioned in Revelation is very interesting. Here's what you have to understand about the scroll. First of all, it's a scroll and it's rolled up. That's what makes it a scroll. It's not a book, it's a scroll. And on this scroll, they have 7 seals. They would take this substance and they would melt it on there. It's wax. They would take wax and put it on the end of the paper. And then they would take a stamp and stamp it. That's what would make the seal. Now, what the book of Revelation tells us from chapter 5 to chapter 8, I believe it is that each one of these seals are broken. There are 7 seals on this scroll, and as each one is broken, right, they're popped off, something happens, right? So the breaking of the seal actually causes something bad to happen. Well, this is really, really important to understand because, like, here's what's amazing about the book of Revelation. The entire Revelation actually starts with this first verse. "I saw a scroll in heaven of one who's seated on the throne, and this scroll was rolled up. It's written on the inside. It's written on the outside." Remember at the beginning of this video what I showed you about Papyrus 90, P90? I'll show you again. This is a copy of the Gospel of John. It's chapter 18 and chapter 19. And what's amazing is this is the front side of the paper, okay? And look at it, right? See that? And then we look on the backside. Here's the backside, chapter 19. This is dated around the 2nd century. And if you look very carefully, I mean, it's just falling apart. You can see the papyrus, these little strings here. It's actually, papyrus, this is a plant. And they would take the plant, dry it out, and then weave it together on top of each other. You can go and look it up to see how they do it. They still make papyrus today in demonstrations in Egypt. And so this is what the Greek manuscripts look like. So when people talk about how there's 5,800, nearly 6,000 Greek manuscripts, this is what they're talking about. A lot of them are fragmented, but this particular manuscript, P90, is from the 2nd century. Now it's important to understand because when we get to the book of Revelation, when we read chapter 5, verse 1, he's telling us that there's a scroll and they're writing on both sides. So the early Christians started writing, from what we know of, they started writing on the front and back side of the papyrus toward the end of the 1st century. That's how we know the book of Revelation was written after 70 AD, toward 100 AD, not before 70 AD. So when you talk about internal evidence, this is a massive piece of information. But here's the thing about this gospel in terms of its relationship to the book of Revelation. When you go to chapter 5, verse 1, it says that there is a scroll. It's written on the inside. It's written on the backside. But did you know that this scroll, even though the whole part of the Revelation, right? So understand what's happening. I'll give you some context. Revelation starts, John is taken in a vision to heaven, and as he's in heaven, he starts seeing all this stuff happening. And one of the big things that happens is he sees this scroll, and this scroll has 7 seals on it. And then they say, who can open up these scrolls? And they say, well, it's Jesus. It's the Lamb who was slain, but he's still alive. So Jesus starts popping off these seals. As he pops off these seals, some bad stuff happens. But you know what's amazing? After the 7 seals happen, then you get the other 7 things, and then the other 7 things, and the other 7 things, and the other 7 things. It goes on forever and ever and ever until you get up to about chapter 19 in the book of Revelation. So this is the start of the whole shebang. It all starts with the popping of these seals. But you know what's really incredible about this scroll? The book never talks about what's actually written on the scroll. The book just tells us about the 7 seals popping. That's it. That's the rest of the book, right? Because the 7 seals were popped, then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. That's the revelation. It actually never tells us what's written down on this scroll. It doesn't tell us anything about the scroll. It doesn't tell us what's written on the scroll. It doesn't tell us anything about the contents. It doesn't read the scroll. The story doesn't even come back to the scroll here. The story just ends in Revelation where there's a new heaven and new earth and a lake of fire and a great white throne of judgment. We never come back to the scroll. It never tells us what this scroll actually says. But it's super important because this passage here, it tells us that there's something written on the inside and there's something written on the outside of this scroll. So this scroll is very important. Whatever this scroll actually is, it actually is the start of Revelation. It's actually the start of the entire book. That's why I've spent so much time focusing on it. I've spent probably 3 or 4 videos so far really focusing in on this passage for lots of different reasons. But the primary thing, of course, is that it's written on one side and it's written on the back side. And I have a manuscript here that's dated about the 2nd century. So this is probably within 50 years of the book of Revelation. And I'll show it to you one more time. It's linked below if you want to go and check it out. But when we come here and we really look at this manuscript, I mean, this is a manuscript for the Gospel of John. Okay, some people believe that the same author who wrote the Gospel of John is the same guy who wrote the book of Revelation. If you think that, then this is probably extremely valuable to you. But this is a copy of John's Gospel. And when we look at this manuscript, we can see it's heavily fragmented. But most importantly, we understand that it's written on this side and it's written on the other side. It's written on the front side and the back side. We can see how fragmented these things are and how difficult they are to read. This is the Greek text. I mean, you're literally right now looking at the Bible, the original Bible that was written that's dating back to the 2nd century. So this copy this is probably, I don't know, 10th or 12th, maybe 20th copy of the original Gospel of John, maybe more, maybe less, who knows. But this is what they look like. This is a fragment of a copy. And so it's just extremely valuable information. And so when we look at Revelation and we see this passage where it says it's written on the front side and the back side and it's rolled up, it tells us something very important about the 1st century. It tells us something about the early church. Main thing is that they had not yet got to codexes yet, but which a codex is a book. They had not got to book format yet. They're still in scrolls, but they're writing on the front side and the back side. And I just had to show you this because we actually have manuscripts where we can see the front side and the back side of where they're writing. We can also see how fragmented it is as well. And so I just thought that this would be super, super important information for you guys. I thought that you would really enjoy seeing this for the first time because everybody talks about Greek manuscripts, but they never show you what they look like. And there's an entire website that's dedicated to photographing these manuscripts. Why? Because these manuscripts are starting to fall apart even more than what they already have. And so Daniel Wallace at Dallas Theological Seminary started this project, I think probably 10 or 15 years ago, and he's digitally photographing every manuscript, all 6,000 manuscripts that we have. So it's really amazing. It's really incredible. It's all free. You can go and check it out if you want to. It's linked below. Listen, if you like this video, let me know in the comments below. If you did not like this video, please tell me why. Criticism is good and all comments are welcome. And if you tell me there's something wrong or something I need to improve, I can make changes day by day. I have some more playlists up here if you want to go and check them out. Don't forget to click the big red A, because when you do, you subscribe to the channel, you get a brand new video just like this every single day. My name's Adam Jordan Clark. Thanks for watching. And as always, I will see you in the next video.